Episode 21 The Mysterious Girl. Zara covered her face and looked at Karen in disbelief. I can't believe you hit me because of that loser. It was obvious that I was sticking up for you. Zara's words just now could easily have caused her to miss out on Alex's fortune. If only she could get Alex, her life would change massively for the better. For Karen, who was obsessed with marrying into a rich family, losing this opportunity just wasn't acceptable. Zara continued, I'm doing you a favor right now, you know. What are you talking about? Alex is my boyfriend now. Zara, please treat him with respect, Karen said as she walked toward Alex. She snuggled up against Alex's chest and glared at Zara. Alex also hadn't expected Karen to stand up for him against Zara. If he stayed here, he knew the situation would get worse, so he persuaded the two of them to make their peace with each other, and then he left. With Alex gone, Karen gradually calmed down and started to feel a little guilty about hitting Zara. Zara giggled when she saw that Karen didn't know how to apologize to her. Karen saw Zara laughing and asked, Zara, are you alright? I just hit Zara, she thought. Why is she laughing? Has the heavy blow to her head had caused some brain damage? Karen, I know what you're planning. You hit me just now because you wanted Alex to listen to you, right? Zara thought that this was Karen's plan. She rubbed her face, which was red and sore, and complained, Look Karen, even if you wanted to get his attention, you hit me much too hard. My face is burning and numb. Only then did Karen heave a sigh of relief. Luckily, Zara didn't seem to have any brain damage. Alright, I did hit you too hard. Please don't hate me. Just wait. Once I've got him where I want him, I'll make sure that you benefit too. Karen gently caressed Zara's face as she spoke. Zara replied, Of course. I know that this guy, Robert, is from a rich family. When it happens, I know you'll give me thousands of dollars, won't you? Zara blinked at Karen. However, Zara didn't realize that the person Karen was referring to was not Robert. Of course, Karen smiled. As long as everything works out with Alex, tens of thousands of dollars will be nothing, she thought to herself. The two cousins quickly forgot about the previous incident. Zara continued, That's right. Didn't you say before that a super rich person had been to your bank? Has he been there in the last few days? Can you get his number for me? Zara's eyes were sparkling. Her heart was filled with anticipation. Of course, you'd chase after him. It takes luck to find such a rich man, Karen thought. What do you want his cell phone number for? She asked. It's difficult to find a rich man. Of course, I have to chase this one. I just need his contact information, then I'll do everything I can to get a date with him. Zara said thoughtfully. Oh, Karen considered Zara's words and became anxious. He hasn't come in for a few days. When he does, I'll get his cell phone number for you. Great, thanks, Karen. Zara smiled sweetly and continued, I really want to meet that eligible rich guy as soon as possible. I'm imagining him to be very handsome, but it doesn't matter if he isn't, as long as he has money. I want someone as rich as him by my side. Karen secretly rejoiced. Luckily, Zara knew nothing about Alex's situation and she found that especially funny. Zara, the eligible rich guy that you dream of is Alex. You said you want to date him and yet you treat him as a nobody, she thought to herself. While the two cousins were lost in their own thoughts, Alex returned to school. By the time he arrived, it was almost 6 p.m. He felt a little hungry, so he went to the restaurant on campus, Beautiful Cuisine. Beautiful Cuisine was a private restaurant with several times the capacity of the campus cafeteria. There were already quite a few students inside the restaurant. Alex walked toward the front desk and joined the line. Then he heard someone behind him saying in a mocking voice, Oh my God, you'd think people would look in the mirror before they step out of the house. Didn't think I'd see people like that here. A meal at this restaurant is probably like this pauper's monthly living expenses. Why would a hobo like that be willing to spend so much money on one meal? Unless it's stolen money or something. Damn, Alex thought to himself. All I want is to enjoy a delicious meal. Who the hell are these people? Why are they being so mean to me? In Alex's heart, a ball of rage grew. He turned around and saw 3 girls heading toward him. They were all dressed in fashionable clothes, similar to those he'd seen hipsters wearing on the street. However, Alex did not know these three people at all. Why are they taunting me if they don't even know me? As Alex was puzzling over this, the three girls walked over without looking at him. You're not talking about me, are you? Alex finally understood. The three girls walked to the front of the restaurant and stood in front of a fourth girl. The three girls crossed their arms and chewed gum as they scanned the girl with disdain. Alex looked at the fourth girl with interest. Her clothes were obviously old and cheap. She was wearing a white t-shirt, jeans that had been in style 7 or 8 years ago, and a pair of canvas shoes that had been washed until they'd faded to white. Everyone, look at this girl. Her name is Debbie Stonehill, and she's the poorest person in our class. Every year, she gets the scholarship because she's so poor, and look at what she's spending it on. Eating at the most expensive restaurant on campus. She's totally shameless, one of the girls said, mockingly. Another continued, Debbie, don't you feel embarrassed? You're really poor, right? But now you actually came here to eat and spend the school's money. You are shameless, aren't you? Fine, let's see if you can take what's coming to you. Another of the girls threatened. Then, the three girls started pulling Debbie's hair. One of them was holding her by the hand, while another grabbed Debbie's hair and pulled her back as hard as she could. Debbie was no match for the three of them. She struggled but could not break free. She was on the verge of falling down. Alex could finally see Debbie's face clearly. She was pale and was wearing no makeup, but she was very pretty. Her thin lips were tightly pursed, and her eyes were closed. No matter how the three girls tortured her, she didn't make a sound. In the end, Debbie was thrown to the ground by the three of them. Serves you right for being scum. The three girls smirked and looked down at Debbie, who'd fallen to the floor. As Debbie was lying on the floor, the waiter came to take her order. He cautiously asked her if she still wanted to order anything. Debbie crawled up from the ground, looked at the waiter, and said, "Please bring me 2 plates of seafood risotto and 2 bottles of Evian. I'll take them with me." The seafood risotto costs $25 per serving, and the Evian costs $20 a bottle. Even in comparison to all the other extravagant dishes on the menu, these choices were considered particularly expensive. When the others heard how expensive Debbie's order was, they became very annoyed with her. "She deserves to be beaten up for spending so much of her grant," one of them shouted. "I can't even afford to drink Evian. I didn't think that a poor person could drink it. I want to tell everyone at school so everyone will hate her. She's going to eat 2 servings at once. She must be a reincarnated hungry ghost, right?" Debbie didn't seem to care at all when she heard the ridicule from others. Her gaze was fixed on the chef who was cooking at the window. The 2 seafood risottos were soon ready. Debbie paid and quickly walked out with the food and bottles of Evian mineral water. Watching the girl leave, Alex sighed to himself. That girl was really pretty, he thought. And she knows how to enjoy herself. Her family's living conditions must be so bad that she's prepared to use the grant money to enjoy such expensive food. Then he heard one of the girls say, "Oh, there's another pauper here. Look everyone. Doesn't he look like he should be with Debbie? Look at the clothes he's wearing. He's perfect for her." As Alex turned around, he saw the 3 girls pointing at him. He'd already seen how cruel they were, so he didn't want to get into an argument with them. He finished eating and quickly left the restaurant. When he walked out, Alex could see Debbie's back. Why did this girl buy 2 servings for herself? He wondered. Alex was intrigued and followed behind Debbie, keeping pace with her. He followed her all the way to the school's Ramsey Lake. At this time, there was no one else near the lake. The setting sun shone on the surface of the lake, sparkling and flickering with golden threads. It was especially beautiful. Alex hid behind a tree and watched Debbie. She placed the 2 cartons of risotto and the bottles of mineral water on a rock. Then she sat on the ground beside the rock and slowly started to eat the food. As she ate, 2 streams of tears flowed from her eyes. Alex could even hear her sniffing. Could it be that she's never eaten such an expensive meal and was moved to tears today? He wondered. No one usually brings food to eat by the lake. She's definitely acting strangely. After watching Debbie for a while, he was ready to leave. Suddenly, he saw Debbie put down her food and slowly stand up. "Surely, you're not going to leave all your trash now you've finished eating?" Alex said to himself. This girl is a real punk. However, Debbie didn't leave. Instead, she knelt on the ground, deliberately facing the northeast and started to pray. What was going on? Why did she have to kneel down and pray after eating? Alex wondered. Then Debbie stood up and walked quickly toward the lake. Is she trying to kill herself? The thought flashed through Alex's mind. Debbie's actions gave him an answer. He watched as she walked to the edge of the lake and jumped into the water with a plop. Episode 22. What's her secret? Alex ran over to the lake the moment he saw Debbie jump in and followed her into the water without a second thought. Fortunately, Alex was a good swimmer, so he grabbed Debbie by her clothes and tried his best to swim toward the shore. What are you doing? Let me die, Debbie shouted. She struggled to get free from Alex's grasp, but he held tight and wouldn't let go. Eventually, with a lot of effort, Alex managed to pull Debbie safely back to the shore. Debbie sat on the grass by the lake and asked in a sad voice, "Why did you save me? Why didn't you let me die?" Debbie's entire body was drenched. Her clothes were clinging tightly to her body, outlining her delicate figure and making her look extremely pitiful. Why did I save you? Alex caught his breath. He really couldn't understand Debbie's thoughts or actions. You might think you want to die, but have you considered your parents? You'll support them in the future. And the state has supported you for so many years, and this is how you repay society. What are you thinking? Alex wanted to wake Debbie up from her self-pity and give her reasons to want to live. Debbie was a little shocked by Alex's words. She hugged her knees and started to feel calmer. You said you're not afraid of death, but why don't you have the courage to live? Alex's tone became a little gentler. Debbie raised her head and looked at Alex with her big watery eyes. Her eyes were shining brightly. She broke Alex's heart. He suddenly had a feeling that this girl was not the sort of person he thought she was. If it was possible for someone to live, why would they choose to die? Debbie sounded hopeless. If you've got problems, why don't you tell me about them? Maybe I can help you, Alex asked, trying to sound positive. When she saw Alex's sincere gaze, Debbie knew that he really wanted to help her. A warm feeling rose from deep within her heart, making her feel very comfortable. But Debbie's heart chilled when she thought about her situation. You can't help me, she said. Just tell me what it is. Believe me, I can definitely help you, Alex replied. Coming from such a rich family, he was sure that he could easily help her. I'm really grateful that you want to help me, but forget it. There's nothing you can do. Debbie smiled faintly. She felt that this stranger in front of her was very kind. Okay, Alex sighed. He continued in a serious tone, but I hope at least you'll promise me not to do such a stupid thing again. All right, I promise, Debbie responded. Alex felt reassured. He pulled Debbie up from the ground and said, oh yeah, and don't buy such expensive food in the future. I don't think it's something you and your family can really afford. Debbie's face reddened and she lowered her head slightly. She tugged at her clothes with both hands and whispered, actually, I normally eat for less than $2 a day. I thought today was my last day on earth, so I plucked up the courage to go to the restaurant for seafood risotto. Listening to Debbie's gentle voice, Alex's heart couldn't help but soften. Then why did you order 2 servings? I know it's too extravagant to eat $40 in a single meal. But to save money, I haven't eaten for the past 2 days, so I'm really hungry. That's why I ordered 2 servings. Debbie's voice was becoming softer and softer. I understand, Alex replied. Looking at the shy and timid Debbie, he decided that she was exceptionally cute. Come here. Debbie pulled Alex back to the stone where she'd left the food. She smiled warmly at Alex, then gave him a container of risotto. Here, eat. Alex quickly refused. No need. Aren't you hungry? You eat it up, he said. A few minutes later, Debbie said, it's good that you haven't just eaten. I just realized that I can only eat one of these meals after all. I'm already full. Here, you have it. Debbie raised her chin. Okay. Alex took the carton and sat on the stone to eat. You sit down too, Alex said while eating. Debbie was watching him, and it made him feel self-conscious. Okay. Debbie sat beside him. Alex had just used a lot of energy saving Debbie and was now very hungry. He ate quickly and some grains of rice stuck to his face. Alex and Debbie chatted as they ate. Only then did Alex find out that Debbie had been praying to her mother in her hometown in the Northeast, begging forgiveness for her actions. By the time they'd finished eating, they both felt there was something special between them. "Can I see you tomorrow?" Alex scratched his head and asked with a hint of embarrassment. "I have a really good feeling about Debbie," he thought, "and I really want to protect her. I'll be really upset if I can't see her again." Debbie was surprised by Alex's question and she blushed. She listened to her heart and responded, "Sure." The next day at noon, as soon as Alex had finished his classes, he went straight to Ramsey Lake. There, he saw a delicate figure sitting on the same rock as yesterday. He walked over with his heart fluttering. Debbie heard his footsteps and turned around. In her hand was a red and yellow plastic bag. She stood up and handed the bag to him, saying, "This is for you." Alex was pleasantly surprised. He took the plastic bag from her and saw that it contained peaches, plums, and apricots. The fruit were in pieces with droplets of water on them. "Did you buy this fruit just for me?" he asked. "It's too expensive. Please don't buy it in the future," he continued, although he was deeply touched. "I know that many people eat fruit every day, but for Debbie, eating fresh fruit is a luxury," he thought. "Eat them," Debbie replied. "These fruits are all in season now, so they're not expensive. And they're the leftovers that no one else wanted. The shop manager sold them to me at half price. I'll clean them up and dig out the bad bits for you." "Don't worry about it," Debbie said with some doubt. "How could I not worry?" Alex was surprised by Debbie. She saved up some money to buy me fruit, yet she has so many of her own problems on her mind. Alex picked up a peach and stuffed it into his mouth, splattering the juice everywhere. "Yum, it's really delicious," he said. "Why don't you have some too? This peach is so sweet." Alex picked up a peach and gave it to Debbie. Debbie looked at Alex, who was happily eating, and smiled sweetly as she put the peach into her mouth. Over the next few days, Alex and Debbie would meet at the lake at noon every day. Each day, Alex would first eat at the cafeteria, then bring food to eat again with Debbie. Debbie was always pleased to see him. Of course, the dishes that Alex brought were all the most basic ones. He wasn't ready yet for Debbie to find out who his really was. One particular day, Alex packed a second serving of soup and vegetable stir-fry and went to Ramsey Lake. Strangely, Debbie wasn't there. She should be here by now, Alex said to himself. I wonder what's keeping her today. Alex sat calmly on the rock and thought, Debbie's never been out for a proper meal before. She's bound to be thrilled when I take her to the best restaurant in New York. He sat on the rock and waited for 20 minutes, but Debbie still didn't come. Seeing the food was getting cold, he took out his phone and called her. Debbie, where are you? He asked. Ah, she answered. I'm sorry, Alex, I can't make it today. Our class is doing experiments in the laboratory and I can't leave. Okay, Alex looked at his phone and had an idea. Debbie can't come to me, but I can take the food to her. He picked up the food and walked quickly toward the laboratory building. When he arrived, he called Debbie. He told her that he'd arrived and asked her which laboratory she was in. Oh, she answered. You came to the laboratory. I'm leaving now. Eat by yourself today. Don't worry about me. Debbie's voice sounded strained, and when Alex asked her where she was, she hung up the phone. Alex had a bad feeling. Is Debbie hiding something from me? He wondered, and he felt increasingly uneasy. He ran out of the lab, threw his food into the trash can, and started to look for Debbie anywhere he could think of. The cafeteria, the supermarket, the lab. He looked everywhere he thought she might be, but he couldn't find her and she wasn't answering his calls. Alex had run out of options. His heart felt in disarray. He walked despondently to the playing field, sat down on the grass, and, still in a daze, watched people jogging around the track. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he saw a petite figure sitting in the corner of the stands. He was sure it was Debbie. He felt invigorated as he quickly stood up and ran toward her. Debbie, why didn't you answer my calls? He asked Debbie as he walked up to her. He was still feeling upset, but when she raised her head, he was shocked. Debbie's face was battered and bruised, and her eyes were swollen. Her pretty face was a mess. Chapter 23, CH23 facing the bullies. What's happened? Alex asked. A ball of anger rose in his chest. Nothing. Why are you here? Debbie answered. She'd been focused on wiping the wounds with a cotton swab and alcohol, so she hadn't noticed when Alex arrived. She lowered her head and covered her face with her hands. Let me see, Alex said as he sat beside her. He grabbed her hand and slowly pulled it down. Close up. The wounds on Debbie's face were even more shocking. One of the cuts was still bleeding. Tell me, who did this to you? Alex's heart ached when he saw her face. Okay. It was Madison Robbins and her friends. But it's okay. They just nudged me a little, Debbie said timidly. The 3 girls who were teasing you that day in the beautiful cuisine, right? I'll go find them now and teach them a lesson. Alex stood up and prepared to find Madison and the others to give them a piece of his mind. Don't. Debbie quickly pulled Alex back. It's not as simple as you think. Madison has powerful friends. If you have a go at them now, we'll be the ones to suffer in the end. Then we'll just let them bully you forever. Alex frowned as he glanced at Debbie. Debbie lowered her head slightly at Alex's words and whispered, I'm doing this for your own good. I'll just stay away from them in the future. All right. Alex's heart softened. Debbie's considering my safety, even now, he thought. But why is such a kind girl being bullied? Come on, I'll take you to the hospital now. Alex held Debbie's hand and was about to leave. No need, the hospital is very expensive. I don't have that kind of money, she whispered and stayed where she was. You don't have to pay. Alex looked at Debbie helplessly and pulled her toward the hospital. Debbie's injuries were quickly dealt with, and Alex paid the bill. Thank you, I'll pay you back. Debbie looked at Alex and felt very happy. She could feel his concern for her. She'd never had a man care about her like he did. We'll talk about it in the future, Alex said. He didn't care about the money. You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll take you to a nice place to eat. A nice place. Debbie opened her eyes wide. She felt uncomfortable and wasn't sure she wanted to go. She'd never even eaten a $5 meal in the cafeteria, much less an expensive meal in a nice restaurant. She continued, let's not, it's too expensive. I think the food in the cafeteria is pretty good. But Alex interrupted her. He shook his head and smiled. Then he took her hand and led her away from the campus. Just follow me. Please just eat and don't worry about anything today, he said. Arriving at the Dahlia restaurant, Debbie felt a little nervous because Alex looked like he didn't fit in any better than she did. Did he actually come to this restaurant? She wondered. It's not all a joke, is it? But when she saw Alex calmly ordering the food, Debbie relaxed. She started to think that Alex was a bit of a mystery. He seemed very worldly and experienced. Then Alex said, wait for me here. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be back soon. He walked to the restroom. Debbie sat alone in her seat, looking around her. She'd never been to such a sophisticated restaurant before, and so she was curious about everything. Then she heard a voice from one side. Is that Debbie? The voice said. Debbie's nerves tensed up and she clenched her fists tightly. She knew it was Madison. Yeah, it really is her. I thought I must be mistaken. Madison stood in front of Debbie, looking at her with a sneer. Madison's 2 friends stood next to her. One of them shouted, have you gone crazy over the last few days? First, you ate at the beautiful cuisine and now you're being even more extravagant. To think that you would actually dare to come and eat here. Madison took over. You really are shameless. Spending your scholarship this way. We only come here once a week. You're a poor loser who can't even afford to eat. What gives you the right to eat here? As she spoke, Madison pulled sharply on Debbie's hair. Debbie's head was pulled back, revealing her snow-white neck. Please, don't hit me here, she cried. When we get back to the campus you can do whatever you want to me. Debbie didn't want Alex to see her getting beaten up. When they heard Debbie pleading for mercy, Madison and the other 2 felt even happier. They all started laughing gleefully. She's trying to trick us. In the past, she's never even made a sound when we hit her, let alone begging for mercy. Madison sneered as she grabbed Debbie's hair and pulled her back with all her strength. Bringing her face right up to Debbie's, she said, since you asked me to let you go, I'm not going to. That will be proof that you're my bitch. A dog under my control. With that, Madison flung Debbie off and raised her arm to slap her. The wounds on Debbie's face had just started to heal, but with one slap from Madison a few of them split open again. It was extremely painful. Debbie tried to get away. "Bitch, get back here," Madison shouted. "Stop running and maybe I won't beat you to death tonight when we get back to the dorms." Madison and her friends gestured angrily at Debbie. Debbie wasn't an idiot. She knew she had to get out of there as quickly as she could. As Debbie was trying to get away, she bumped into a sturdy body. "It's Alex," she thought, and her heart slowed. Alex had already guessed what was happening when he saw the state Debbie was in and then saw Madison and her friends. He held Debbie and looked coldly at Madison. Madison barely looked at Alex as she said, "Hey, isn't this the other pauper who was eating at Beautiful Cuisine? Did these two people stay together? Haha, it really is a good match." One of her friends joined in. "I was wondering why she's been loitering outside for the past few days. It looks like she's been stealing men outside. You shameless little whore. Luckily you're the only one that deserves such a poor loser." "Why did you hit her?" Alex asked calmly. Madison laughed and answered with disdain, "Why? Do we still need a reason to beat a pauper? Debbie is just a dog for us to have fun with in our dorm. Does a master need to have a reason to hit his dog? I'm warning you, don't touch her again," Alex said with a cold stare. "Yeah, right, you still want to stick up for this girl, right? Come on, try touching me if you have something to say. I told you, if you try anything then we'll bully her even more in the future. There's nothing you can do to stop me," Madison said provocatively. Alex went to slap Madison, but Debbie pulled him back and shook her head at him. Just then, three men walked into the restaurant and walked toward Madison. They were all elegantly dressed and were clearly here to meet Madison and her friends for a meal. "Miss Robbins, what's going on? Did this fool provoke you?" A stocky man with a crew cut pointed at Alex as he spoke to Madison. Another man, with tattoos on his arms, addressed Alex. "Idiot, someone like you dares to try it on with Miss Robbins. Let me tell you right now, we are all from the Kappa Alpha Society. If you know what's good for you, you'll stay away from us." The remaining man even pushed Alex away. "Get lost or I might hit you right now." He wanted to fight with them, but Debbie held his hand and whispered in his ear, "Let's go." Alex realized that it would be stupid to fight with them right now. He didn't care what happened to him, but he didn't want Debbie to get hurt again. Instead, he followed Debbie toward the door. "Aren't you helping your little girlfriend out? Oh, what a shame. If I had a boyfriend like you, I'd definitely dump him." Madison stood behind him with her arms crossed and mocked him proudly. "What is the Kappa Alpha Society?" Alex asked Debbie as they walked out of the restaurant. Debbie replied, "It's an organization near our school. They are very powerful. Madison and the rest belong to the Kappa Alpha Society. That's why we can't afford to get on the wrong side of them. That's why I stopped you just now." Alex didn't say anything. In his heart he'd secretly decided that he must find a way to let Debbie know that he, Alex, was not someone to be trifled with. "Oh yeah, and I've decided to move out of the dorm." Debbie looked at Alex and continued, "I've checked around the school and I've found a room. There's only one bed and no internet, but I think it's pretty good. I'm going to rent it." When Alex heard this, he agreed wholeheartedly. If Debbie lived outside, she wouldn't be bullied by Madison. However, the room she found was much too basic. Alex decided to surprise her by finding her a better room. Alex took Debbie to the hospital to have her wound rebandaged, then they ate a meal in the cafeteria before parted ways. The next day, Alex took a taxi and directly went to the Green Island Garden District, an upper-class residential district close to Preston University. Alex had been thinking about it all day. "I've got money now," he thought. "Why shouldn't I buy a house for Debbie to live in? It will be much more comfortable for her than renting a room." The Green Island Garden District was a small and exclusive residential area that had been developed over recent years. It was convenient for transportation, had a superior position, and had first-rate facilities. It was a super luxurious small district of New York. Alex went straight to the sales office. The current manager, Darla, was prettier than the last. Selling a property here earned her a commission of $50,000. Alex had heard from his classmates that Darla was therefore willing to do shameful things for her customers in order to sell houses. Usually, when Darla and the other salespeople saw a customer enter, they would immediately greet them with a smile. However, when they saw Alex enter, no one went up to greet him. Episode 24. One or two luxury villas. Alex sighed. As he walked over to the desk, he accidentally bumped into a lady who had just entered the office. "Ah, watch out. Look what you did. You almost stepped on my new shoes. Can you even afford a property from here? Seriously." The woman had short brown hair. She wore sunglasses, a long figure-hugging dress, and a pair of high-heeled crystal sandals. Although she looked to be in her mid-30s, her exposed arms were as white as snow. Behind the woman, there was a man wearing jeans, a white vest, brown leather sandals, and carrying a bag under his arm. He said, "Don't waste your time talking to someone like that, baby. Let's go and take a look." Darla quickly walked over and warmly greeted the couple. Then she glanced at Alex, looking irritated with him. "Sorry, you had a bad experience in our office," she said. "The people around here know that this is a high-class residential area, so some people who can't afford to buy a house often come to our sales office to enjoy the free air conditioning." Darla explained to the lady in dark glasses. Of course, Alex knew that she was talking about him. He just smiled and said, "So you think I can't afford a house at all? How much would it cost to buy the whole residential area?" Darla looked at Alex and said, "Sir, the minimum price for a house here is $500,000. I can tell from looking at you that it's not something you can afford." Darla gestured toward the door, smiling as she pursed her lips. Alex ignored her and said, "I'll take a look here. If there's a suitable property, I'll buy it." He walked over to the sales desk to check for himself. This really annoyed Darla. "You want to buy a property here?" she demanded. "You're shameless about being here, but I think that you just want to stay in the air conditioning for a while longer." Ignoring Alex, Darla ushered the couple to the sales desk and began showing them properties. After discussing various properties for about 10 minutes, the man decided which house they wanted to buy. "I'll take that villa," he said. "We've come here several times before and that one always catches my eye." Darla replied, "A great choice, sir. You have a good eye. This villa is the most popular one in our district, with 2,500 square feet with 4 bedrooms. It is spacious and has good lighting. The surroundings are very quiet and it's very close to the lake." She praised the man enthusiastically and finally brought up the subject of payment. "This property costs $1.5 million. You need to pay 30%, or $450,000 as a down payment." The man was shocked. He exclaimed, "So much? On your advertisement I'm sure it said the price wasn't that high." "Oh, that advertisement was from a few months ago. These villas are selling very quickly, so several months ago we increased the price," Darla replied. When she noticed the shocked expression on the man's face, she started to lose enthusiasm. She realized that this couple couldn't afford to pay the price of the villa. She continued, "Sir, a lot of people have inquired about this villa. If you really want to buy it, you need to pay the deposit today because it could easily be sold by tomorrow." "Hubby, hurry up and think of a way to get the money," the lady in shade said as she held onto the man's hand. "I really like this villa, and there's nothing else here that I like. Didn't you say that living in this villa is the only way to raise our status in society and give the impression you need to give for our business? Can't you see that I'm trying to find a way?" The man replied as he looked at Darla. He continued, "I will definitely buy this villa. You can keep it for me for now. I guarantee that I will raise all the money within 10 days. "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't have the authority to do that," Darla replied, shaking her head. "Hubby, hurry up and borrow money from your friends. I can also borrow money from my friends. We must buy this villa," the woman urged. The couple knew that to be able to afford a villa in the Green Island Garden District would demonstrate that they were among the richest people in New York. In the future, they would be superior to their friends and relatives, and they'd gain the respect and envy of others. This would definitely benefit their business. They both took out their cell phones and began to call their friends. "This villa is pretty good. Alex looked at information about the mansion and said, "I'll buy this villa." "You're buying it? How could you?" The woman looked at Alex with malice. "It's a struggle, but we really want to buy it." Darla didn't take Alex's words seriously. In fact, her opinion of Alex became even worse. She felt that Alex must be up to something sinister. With an angry expression on her face, she approached Alex and demanded, "Sir, please leave now. We have work to do. I want to buy a house. Why are you kicking me out? Do you want me to file a complaint against you?" Alex replied angrily, "Okay. You want to buy a house, right? Here's how much money you'll need. This property is worth $1.5 million. If you can pay for it, it's yours," Darla said impatiently. She didn't tell Alex about the 30% down payment because she didn't believe that Alex would buy it. She thought he was here causing trouble for no reason. Alex was indifferent. He took out his Metro Sky Bank card from his pocket and showed it to her. "Can I pay on my card?" he asked. The man sneered at Alex and said, "You think you can pay on a card? You loser. Even if you had the amount in cash, I wouldn't believe you could buy this villa. If you really can buy this villa, I'll kneel down before you and call you sir. Then let's give it a try." Alex handed the card to Darla. She took the card and went over to the card machine. "I know when I swipe this card, I'll hear a beep, indicating that it's a fake card," she thought. "Then I can call the security guards to throw him out." The card flashed across the machine. According to the computer, $1.5 million had already been spent on the card. When Darla saw this information on the computer, she was dumbfounded. This poor loser. It seemed that he hadn't lied. He really had spent $1.5 million on his card. Noticing Darla's confusion, everyone else in the office gathered around her and read information on the computer. The couple hoping to buy the house looked at Alex in disbelief. Does he really have so much money when his clothes are so shabby? "I can't even afford 30% of the money, yet a 20-year-old brat like him can actually pay the whole amount," the man thought, scratching his head, unable to believe what was happening. He thought about how he'd mocked Alex and felt ashamed. When they realized he was rich, all the staff in the sales office had completely changed their attitudes toward Alex. They all looked at him with a smile. A few of the salespeople even ignored the other customers and offered to make coffee for Alex, or to bring him fresh water. They all became very friendly. There were only a handful of people who could afford to buy a villa worth $1.5 million without thinking. What really surprised them was that Alex was still so young. He was clearly doing far better than most of his peers and had a really golden future ahead of him. "Sir, I apologize. I should have helped you sooner. Let me tell you more about the property. The villa you've bought is 2,500 square feet." Darla smiled sweetly, trying to make her voice as friendly as possible. Now she knew he was rich, she wouldn't hesitate to agree to do anything that Alex requested, even if it was against the law. Alex thought for a moment, then said, "Well, let's have a look. Although this house isn't that great, it's still better than the dormitory at school. I guess it will do for now." No one could believe that Alex was comparing this high-end villa, worth $1.5 million, with a university dorm. They didn't know Alex's true identity and couldn't comprehend what he was saying. They found him very arrogant. One of them said, "Wow. Now I think he's intentionally showing off his wealth in front of us. You would think that buying such an expensive villa would be enough." Another joined in, "Everyone, don't fall for it. I'm sure he's exaggerating just to look cool in front of us. I bet he's got real problems." "I'm exaggerating." Alex shook his head and smiled as he glanced at the others. "To be honest, I could just as easily buy a nightclub." When they heard this, the others couldn't hold back their laughter. A nightclub would cost $5 million. This villa was $1.5 million. You surely don't have that sort of money. They each thought, if you're as rich as you say, why don't you buy that super luxurious villa on Emerald Island? A middle-aged man said to Alex and pointed at a villa on the sales desk. "All right," Alex agreed without even looking at it. "Sir, are you really going to buy that villa?" Darla looked at Alex in surprise. "It's the best villa on the complex, built on an island in the lake, with its own courtyard, swimming pool, and the most luxurious interior design. And it's equipped with the most advanced internet service. She continued. Our district is called the Green Island Garden, and this villa has the same name, Emerald Island, which shows you how exclusive this villa is. Do you really want to buy it? Darla was shocked, sure that Alex was just bragging. When the developers built the villa, they'd not planned to sell it for at least 10 years. The main purpose of building the villa was to demonstrate the high quality of the residential area. They felt that if people saw a villa there worth $40 million, they'd be convinced that this is the most luxurious and desirable residential area in New York. Right. Do I look like I'm joking? Alex asked casually. How much are you selling it for? $40 million, Darla said. She still couldn't quite work Alex out. Alex nodded. He took out his cell phone and called the Metro Sky Bank's customer manager, Robert Miller, and asked him to transfer $40 million to Green Island Gardens account. Everyone in the office was still waiting for Alex to tell them it was all a joke. When the $40 million arrived, no one could believe it. The saleswomen surrounded Alex. Their eyes were full of passion, each suddenly finding Alex irresistibly attractive. He can lay his hands on $40 million with just a phone call, they all thought to themselves. How often do I get the chance to meet such a rich and handsome young man? Somehow, I need to attract him. Imagine if he fancies me. Alex was unable to catch his breath as he was surrounded by more than 10 beautiful young women. He simply squeezed through the crowd and quickly walked out of the sales office. Episode 25. A shock for Alex. After Alex left, the lady in shades realized that her favorite villa had just been bought. She couldn't help feeling upset and burst into tears in the shop. Owning a villa in the Green Island Garden District would have been a status symbol. Now, she'd lost that chance. Her husband, Jack Sanders, also had a pained expression on his face. He was heartbroken, but he knew that he couldn't compete with Alex's wealth. He knew that Alex had won. Just then, another professionally dressed woman walked into the sales office. She was none other than Rose Scott's aunt, Sue Bradley. Claire, why are you crying? She asked worriedly as she walked toward the lady in dark glasses. Claire sobbed again when she heard her sister-in-law's voice. Originally, her intention had been to show off in front of Sue and belittle her, but now that Alex had bought the villa, she had nothing to boast about. Sue must be laughing at me, she thought. Claire immediately stopped crying. It's okay. I've just got sand in eyes, she said. How has she got sand in her eyes? Sue wondered. Where did the sand come from in this sales office? Sue said, Claire and Jack, have you really bought a villa here? That's fantastic. This is where elite of New York lie. HMPH, you should know that in the future, we will be the most important people in New York. This is where the elite live and we definitely belong here. Claire answered proudly. In order not to be embarrassed in front of Sue, she decided to pretend that they'd already bought the villa. Darla, who'd remained to one side, saw this and her face turned pale. She said to herself, I can't believe this woman actually dared to say she'd bought a villa in our district. This woman who, just now, was crying as if her parents had just died. I'd like to see what'll you do when people ask to see your villa. Alex left the sales office and made another decision. Today I'm going to buy myself a car, he said to himself. I'm super rich and it's crazy that I don't have a car. Alex went straight to New York Automobiles, which had the most advanced and the best performance cars in the world. Alex strolled around the car dealership and took a fancy to a Ferrari. To him, it looked beautiful and gave off an aura of power. He knew it was also one of the most advanced in its performance. When he asked the salesperson, he was told that this Ferrari can also be custom-made for the customer. Alex knew he wanted to buy it, so he got straight to the point. He ordered a custom-made Ferrari and all the components that would ensure that it was the best. The salesperson was very suspicious of Alex until Alex asked Robert Miller of the Sky Metro Bank to transfer half of the $400,000 to the car dealership's account number. The salesperson was stunned. He almost felt that he should be worshipping at Alex's feet. His attitude toward Alex had changed. The manager of the car dealership and all the other employees gathered around Alex and looked at him ingratiatingly. Once Alex had finished buying the car and started to leave the dealership, everyone in the shop cheered. Several passers-by were confused about the cheering and assumed it must be an important government official who came to inspect the place. Alex felt relieved once he'd left the shop and said to himself, "I was only buying a car. They didn't need to make such a fuss." Just as he was about to take a taxi back to school, he received a call from Lucy Smith. Last time they'd met, Lucy had saved her number in his phone, so her name came up on the screen. Lucy said she had something to talk to him about. Alex said that he was currently free and they agreed to meet. About 10 minutes later, a Mercedes-Benz pulled up to where Alex was waiting. "Alex, get in." Rolling down the car window, Lucy called out to him with a smile. Lucy had wavy hair. She was wearing an elegant dress and looked very charming. Alex felt slightly nervous as he got into the car. "Mrs. Smith, why are you looking for me?" "You'll know in a while," Lucy replied mysteriously. She started the engine and the Mercedes-Benz started moving along the wide New York streets. A black seat belt was wedged across Lucy's chest, exposing her womanly figure. The seat belt swayed slightly as the car drove on. Since getting into the car, Alex's line of sight had been focused on her chest 80% of the time. Lucy felt her seat belt tighten across her chest as she adjusted it. It made no difference. As soon as the car moved forward, Alex could see her sizable chest bouncing up and down suggestively. This scene made Alex cough violently, and a stream of bright red blood flowed out from his nose. "Alex, are you okay?" Lucy asked quickly. Secretly she was pleased with herself. Clearly her body was still attractive even to this rich and handsome young man. "I'm fine," Alex said as he raised his head and pinched his nose. "There's tissue paper in the glove compartment. Please help yourself," Lucy said to Alex. He opened the glove compartment, took out a tissue, and wiped the blood from his nose. "Hey, what's this?" Alex asked himself as he saw that inside the glove compartment there were several items of underwear, stockings, silky bras, and even lacy panties. Seeing this, Alex became even more restless. He couldn't hide his arousal much longer. "Alex, I'm sorry, I was too anxious just now and forgot they were in there," Lucy said shyly. Actually, she'd put the undergarments in there on purpose. Alex was such a rich and handsome young man, of course any woman would want to be with him. Lucy hoped that the suggestive underwear would be enough to ignite Alex's passion. She didn't expect Alex simply to close the storage box after a few seconds. "Alex, this is the first time I've bought these sorts of things. I've never been touched by a man. If you like, I'll drive the car to the underground garage. There'll be no one in there and you can do whatever you like," Lucy said coyly. Alex smiled awkwardly. "Maybe next time," he said. Although Alex was attracted to Lucy, as any man would be, it didn't mean that he wanted to sleep around. Lucy, on the other hand, was very disappointed. She tried to make herself feel better, telling herself, "Alex is a superior to any other men and is worth the wait. I just need to be patient." Just then, the car stopped. Alex got out of the car and looked to see where they were. They were outside New York's busiest shopping center, the fashionable Letty shopping mall. After locking the car, Lucy dragged Alex into the mall and headed straight for a first-floor boutique called Autumn Beauty that sold particularly elegant and exclusive brands of clothes. "Lucy is here to ask me to buy her clothes," Alex thought. As soon as they entered the store, the manager walked over with a smile. He looked at Lucy and nodded his head slightly, saying, "Mrs. Smith, I'm delighted to see you." "Mrs. Smith, is Lucy a regular customer here?" Alex asked himself. "Alex, this is one of my shops," Lucy explained to Alex as she saw his confusion. Then, she looked at the shop manager and said, "Russell, from now on, Alex is the owner of this boutique. We must listen to everything he says." "Excuse me." Russell didn't understand, but since it was Lucy that had said it, he could only do as she said. "Yes, I understand," he replied. "What do you mean?" Alex asked. He didn't understand what Lucy was saying. Lucy replied, "This is the decision that has been passed down from the senior members of the family. I'm just making it happen. Alex, sooner or later you will have to join the family business empire. You must start with this store and gradually learn the ropes." Lucy knew that the family wanted Alex to run this shop to gain management experience. Oh, all right then, Alex agreed. Eventually, he knew he would have to inherit his family's business. Good, Lucy smiled. She found Alex very agreeable. Alex, I am traveling to the southwest later today to check on my family's gold business. I will be gone for several weeks. Okay, sure, Alex replied. In his head, he was thinking, it will be more than a month before I get the Ferrari. During this time, I'll be able to drive Lucy's car. Russell, who was standing at the side, was confused. He had no idea that his boss was one of the country's richest men. He assumed that Alex was just someone without much to his name. When they'd finalized everything at Autumn Beauty, Alex drove Lucy directly to the airport. She was traveling to the southwest that very day. After seeing Lucy off, Alex drove the car around New York. This large Mercedes-Benz is great to drive and the other cars definitely stay out of my way, he thought. Alex saw a Shrimp King restaurant on the side of the road and decided he'd like some of their lobster, so he drove the car over and parked up. It was almost time to eat, so he decided to buy some lobster to take back to eat with Debbie. The parking attendant at the entrance was dozing, but when he noticed a Mercedes-Benz pulling up, he immediately woke up. He smiled and bowed his head, waiting for Alex to climb out of the car so that he could park it. As Alex walked to the door of the store, he noticed several dollar bills falling out of the pocket of the person in front of him. He smiled wryly and put the banknotes in his pocket. Alex, are you here begging for money? He heard from behind him. He turned around and saw a group of people walking toward him. Leading the group was the cheerleader, Zara Fitzgerald. Episode 26. Parking attendant took the key. Soon, Zara and the others surrounded Alex with mocking smiles on their faces. The group chatted amongst themselves. This kid has quite a business head. He knows that the people who come here are all white-collar workers, so he'll be able to get some money here. He seems to have asked for $2 just now. $2 for one person. That's not a small amount. Alex, tell me, how much money do you have now? The group continued with the insults. They all treated Alex like he was a beggar. Zara looked at Alex, who was picking up some money that someone had dropped on the floor and thought, I didn't misjudge Alex. He's been getting worse and worse these days. He's even thought of asking for money this way. Thinking of the conspiracy between her and her cousin, the corner of Zara's mouth curled up into a cold smile. If my cousin fell in love with this kind of loser, it would give Robert Miller a huge shock. This way, Robert will pursue my cousin more actively, she thought. Alex, that's enough. I'll give you $10. You can pack up your stall for today and come back tomorrow to ask for more money. Zara asked for $10 from the boy next to her and passed it to Alex. Alex accepted it without thinking, but he was cursing on the inside. I have over $1 billion. How could I possibly ask for money from someone else? Is the universe just joking with me? However, Alex didn't have any intention of leaving after taking Zara's money. Why aren't you leaving? Was that not enough money for you? Zara looked at Alex angrily. Alex wanted to leave, but his car was still parked there. If they saw him drive a Mercedes-Benz, it would be a huge problem for him. His identity as a super rich kid might be exposed. This was not something Alex was willing to do. Get lost. Zara was so angry that she kicked Alex in the butt. Zara was used to commanding Alex around and didn't take him seriously at all. Would she dare speak to me like that if she knew that I had more than $1 billion in assets? He wondered. Alex was too lazy to bother with Zara. Just when Alex wanted to leave, another person walked over from the roadside. It was Rachel O'Connor, whom he had seen at the practice field before. Alex, you came as well, Rachel greeted him with a smile. Yes, Alex nodded. Oh, Rachel, you're here, stated Dean Marshall, who was on the basketball team. He looked at Rachel with a silly smile. Rachel acted as though she didn't hear him and completely ignored him. Rachel and Zara had eaten together these past few days, and Dean had shamelessly joined them twice. His frivolous manner had disgusted Rachel. This was a huge blow to Dean. Rachel took the initiative to greet Alex but ignored him. Did this mean that he couldn't even compare to Alex? He wondered. Rachel. Actually his name isn't Alex at all. He just stands here and asks for money. Dean snickered, trying to put down Alex's image. Is that so? Rachel looked affectionately at Alex and said to Zara, anyways, Alex is on the cheering squad. Let him eat with us. Rachel spoke a few words of praise for Alex, and Zara reluctantly agreed to let him eat with them. Alex didn't reject Rachel's invitation, and he walked into the restaurant with her and the others. Dean was at the back of the group. He gritted his teeth in anger as he watched Alex and Rachel walking in front of him. As they entered the restaurant, there were already quite a few people around. Seated in the middle was a tall, large boy with permed hair who was dressed very stylishly, Harry Hamilton. He was the captain of the Preston University basketball team and also Zara's boyfriend. Zara, you're here. Sit down and let's see what they have to eat. Harry walked to Zara's side and naturally held her hand. A trace of desire flashed in his eyes. Harry then noticed Alex and frowned. Isn't he cheerleading crew's nanny? Why is he here too? The basketball team often trained with the cheerleading team, so Harry often saw Alex but never had any dealings with him. A loser who was only fit to carry stuff for the cheerleading team, what was there to socialize with? Thought Harry. Zara sneakily glanced at Rachel with a hint of complaint in her eyes. Zara told Harry that she had seen Alex outside asking for money, so she had called him in. If it was annoying, she would ask Alex to go. Haha. This guy was asking for money outside. There's no one else but him that would do such a thing. Harry laughed out loud after hearing this. Never mind, this time it's cheap. Just let him have a free meal. Everyone, take a seat. My brother's coming too. Just leave a spot for him, Harry said as everyone started to sit down. Zara naturally sat together with Harry. Alex was about to sit down when he heard Zara say, Alex, take a seat by the door. There's a breeze when the waiter goes in and out. You'll help us block the wind. Right. Zara's idea is pretty good. Agreed one person. Alex, sit by the door and block the wind, chimed in another. Alex didn't care as it was the same no matter where he sat. But Rachel's face turned red, and she couldn't help but shout, aren't you guys going a little too far? We're all friends here, do you need to be so hostile toward Alex? The move turned somewhat awkward. We didn't ask him in the first place. He shamelessly followed us, Dean muttered. Rachel glared at him and stood up from her seat beside Alex. Why did you sit over there? If the wind blows, you'll get cold, Dean said with concern. Rachel completely ignored him. Rachel, stop messing around. Come sit beside me, Zara said as she walked to Rachel's side and pulled her to sit beside her. Alex was deeply touched. He looked at Rachel with gratitude. The waiter brought out plates and dishes. At that moment, the room's door was pushed open once again. Hello everyone. A smartly dressed young man came in. Howard, you're finally here. Harry walked up to his brother, Howard Hamilton, and hugged him. Let me introduce you to everyone. Everyone, this is my good brother Howard. He went to Switzerland after graduating from high school and has been getting over jet lag the past few days. When Harry made the introductions, he looked at Rachel for a long time as if he was introducing her. You can sit here, Rachel suggested. Harry and Howard walked to Rachel's side and gestured for the others to give up their seats. Howard sat beside Rachel, giving her a good look up and down. He could not help but feel nervous. Rachel was beautiful, with a white face, thin lips, and ample chest. The previous night, Howard asked Harry to introduce him to a beautiful girl. The photo that Harry sent him was Rachel's. As a result, he didn't sleep well. Howard tried to strike up a conversation with Rachel. He subtly tried to reveal his family's power to Rachel. He thought that this would help win her over. But Rachel ignored him, and it made him even angrier when she paid attention to Alex, who was sitting by the door. That kid looks so cheap. Why would he get this gorgeous girl's attention? Howard thought. Harry, you haven't introduced that guy to me, Howard whispered as he pointed his fork at Alex. Oh. He's the babysitter of the cheerleading squad. He was just at the entrance asking for money, said Harry with an evil smile. Look at him dressed as a beggar. He's not like us at all. We didn't ask him to come. He only came because Rachel pitied him. It was lucky for him to come with us, otherwise, he never would have been able to come here. Dean took the opportunity to step on Alex's leg. Begging. Howard showed a very surprised expression and said, "He's already into begging, but he hasn't even tried to work hard." Sigh. This kind of guy is not ambitious. In the real world he's just a walking corpse. There's no saving him. Exactly. That's all he'll ever be, the others agreed. Alex wasn't really angry, but he did feel it was ridiculous as he thought to himself, "I'm a super rich person. You guys aren't even fit to carry my shoes, but now you're shamelessly making fun of me. Let's not talk about this trash anymore," Harry continued. "Oh right. Howard. Why are you so slow today? Isn't this good timing for Dad to buy me a new car?" "I just randomly picked out a car from the lot before coming over," Howard said casually. "You bought a car?" Harry glanced at Rachel and said, "Tell me, what kind of car did you buy?" "It's not a good car. It's only an E-Class Mercedes. I'll drive it for a couple of years, then get a better one when I get married," Howard said. The friends chatted with each other. "Hey, Howard is awesome. He's already over E-Class. He doesn't even think it's a good car. To some, it might be a good car, but who is Big Howard? He's been making a splash." The others started to clap their hands. From the looks of it, Xianing was richer than Harry. They followed Harry's lead to adore Howard even more. When the group urged him to go see his car, Howard happily agreed. This was a good opportunity to try and impress Rachel. The group got up and walked out to the restaurant's entrance. Howard was the center of attention. "Everyone wait. I'll drive out right now and take you guys to karaoke," Howard said as he jingled the car keys in his hand. "Doesn't the parking attendant have the car key?" A question came up from the crowd and the others turned to all look at Alex. Alex had asked himself this question quietly, so he wasn't expecting everyone else to hear it. He felt rather awkward at that moment. Howard looked at Alex with an unfriendly gaze and sneered, "Idiot, do you think any random parking attendant will park it for you? Look at this place. It costs a ton of money to park here." Howard felt that very few customers would pay to park their cars, so he didn't feel embarrassed at all. "That's right. When I drove here, there was no one to park my car for me anyways. If you don't understand, then don't speak," Harry said to Alex. "Ignore him. He's just a fool who's never seen the world before. Yo bro, hurry up and drive. HMPH, ignorant." Howard cursed as he chatted, laughed with Harry, and walked to the car. The others stayed at the entrance to wait for them, but 5 minutes later, Zara called Harry before they could even get out of the car. "Hey, why isn't he out yet? Hey, my idiot brother. He dented some guy's G Mercedes," Harry whispered into his phone as he walked away from Howard in the parking lot. Episode 27 Whose Big G Is It? Zara Fitzgerald and the others quickly arrived at the parking lot. After a glance, they saw that Howard Hamilton had put a deep dent into a Mercedes. Alex, who was standing behind everyone, frowned when he saw that it was Lucy's car, which he was driving while she was gone, that had been dented. That idiot Howard. He was bragging about how awesome his driving skills were when we were eating just now. And yet you had to dent Lucy's car. You're a real dope, Alex thought. They bantered amongst themselves. This big car must be at least over $150,000. This is bad. This is bad to dent it up like this. That's at least $10,000 in damages. If only I could drive, I definitely wouldn't have dented it up. Ack. Who knew something like this would happen? You want to pay $10,000. Who the hell can afford it? Who can we blame? If we were a bit more careful, we wouldn't have been able to make such a big dent. Howard became even more annoyed than he already was. Now, he was so angry that he wanted to zip up their mouths. Oh, this guy won the prize. I've seen this kind before at an exhibition. It's a high-quality version imported from Germany, over $200,000. With a dent like this, no one can get out for less than $15,000. One of the cars driving by stopped in front of the crowd. The driver commented, gave Howard a thumbs up, and then drove away. $15,000, Howard thought. Howard's heart stopped. His whole body felt numb as if it had been shocked. His legs felt weak as if he were about to collapse. He was just an ordinary rich guy, so losing $15,000 in one shot was a huge sum of money to him. If the family knew about this, his father would be mad. The others noticed Howard's mood, stopped commenting, and just sighed. He didn't want to look weak in front of the others. He decided to avoid losing face in front of his friends, that no one would look down on him, even if he might get in trouble with his father when he got home. "Why don't you drive away? Nobody has seen it. I think if the owner can drive a Mercedes, he probably won't care about your money," Alex said. Alex felt funny when he saw Howard's expression, as if his parents had died. Honestly speaking, he didn't think much of it. More importantly, they had been holding him up from getting out of here. What is your pig brain thinking? Can't you see that it's surrounded by surveillance cameras? It would be even more embarrassing if you dent someone's car up and then ran away. Don't you understand? Zara said with a frown. HMPH. You, I didn't expect you to be dressed so badly and have such vulgar thoughts. You would have run away if you had touched someone else's car. Don't you have any morals? Howard sneered and said, "Do you think I have that little money? $15,000. That's just 2 months of pocket money. What's that?" If Howard had that much pocket money every 2 months, he wouldn't be so scared. But Howard only had a few thousand a month. It was more like a few months' worth. The others started to boast about how rich Howard was, mocking Alex for his lack of morals. "Let's go. Let's not hang out with them anymore." Rachel O'Connor couldn't stand listening to the others anymore. Even before going into the restaurant, she had said that Alex was a target for bullying. Rachel held Alex's hand and walked away without looking at the others. "Rachel, don't go. We still need to go to karaoke and sing," Zara called out to Rachel. "Yeah, you and Alex can only take the bus. But you can drive in luxury with us." Dean Marshall and Howard also hurriedly tried to persuade her to stay. They were all interested in Rachel, and they felt really upset as they watched her leave with Alex. "No need. You guys can go hang out. I'll go back with Alex. I don't like taking luxury cars either. The bus is quite comfortable." Rachel steeled her heart and didn't have any intention of going back. "What's going on?" the parking attendant said as he walked over. When he saw so many people gathered around, he became suspicious and pushed his way through the crowd. When he saw the car, he shouted angrily, "Who did this?" Howard admitted that he accidentally dented the car. Sigh. "You're a talent. Such a big place. To be able to dent up a car, I admire you." The parking attendant said sarcastically, "Everyone stays here and don't leave. When the owner of the car arrives, you can pay him for the damage." Alex saw that the parking attendant was the one who had parked his car for him. He was afraid that the parking attendant would recognize him, so he took Rachel's hand and quietly told her to leave with him as soon as possible. He was afraid of what would come next. Instead of pulling Rachel along, he had instead attracted the parking attendant's attention. "Hey, boy, stop." When the parking attendant saw Alex run out of the crowd, it looked like he was the guilty one. The parking attendant had to catch him or risk losing his job. Howard and the rest went quiet and watched the parking attendant chase Alex. If Alex had been alone, he would have just run away. However, with Rachel beside him, he couldn't run so fast. The parking attendant quickly caught him. The smiles on the others' faces became even more obvious. Rachel's heart sank as she felt that the others would think she was a joke. "Still running? Do you think you can escape?" exclaimed the parking attendant. After being caught by the attendant, Alex said, "A young man wants to run after touching someone else's car." "Is that all?" When he saw Alex's face, the parking attendant was stunned. "Sir, why, is it you?" Most of the people who drove cars of this caliber were over 40 years old. It was the first time that a parking attendant had seen someone as young as Alex, so he remembered Alex's young face. "Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I didn't want to chase you. Sir, are you leaving now?" "I'll drive the car over for you now," the parking attendant said happily. As he turned around, the parking attendant saw Howard and the others, so he quickly said, "Sir, they dented your car. If you want them to compensate you, then I'll tell them. If they don't, then I'll call the police." "What's going on? Did this luxury car belong to the loser, Alex?" thought Howard and the others in confusion. Are you sure you haven't made a mistake? This brat was just begging out on the street in front of the shop. How could this G be his? Asked Howard. How could I not know after personally parking the car? Why don't you think about how you're going to compensate him? Said the parking attendant as he looked at Howard and the others in disdain. No need for them to compensate me, it won't cost that much to fix it. Alex just wanted to leave as soon as possible, so he said, just give me the car keys, I'll drive it myself. Since the parking attendant had already revealed him, there was no need for Alex to hide who he was anymore. Alex took the car keys, got in the big G Mercedes, and drove it out steadily. When the others saw him do this, their eyes widened in shock. They couldn't believe that Alex, the nurse of the cheering squad, was the owner of the Mercedes-Benz G. Zara was like a statue. Her mind went blank, and her big eyes were locked onto Alex's body. It all felt unreal to her. Harry and Howard were heartbroken. They looked like fools as they watched Alex step into the car. Their minds were a mess as they wondered what exactly was going on with Alex. How could he afford to drive such a good car? Beep, beep. Alex pushed his horn twice. The group hurriedly got out of the way. Alex stopped the car next to Rachel and rolled down the window. He looked at the stunned Rachel and said, "Get in the car, I'll drive you back." "Me?" Rachel pointed at herself and then calmed down a little. She smiled. "Sure." With that, Rachel opened the door and climbed in. Alex was about to drive the car out when he saw Zara tapping on the window beside him. "What's wrong?" Alex asked Zara as he rolled down the window. "Alex, I'm going back to school too, can I get a ride too?" She asked him coyly now that Zara knew Alex was the owner of this G. This was a luxurious car worth at least $150,000. Zara had never ridden in one before. If she could be seen riding in this luxury car, it would make the others envy her. "Hey, I think you should go in Harry's car. Don't you guys still have to go sing?" Alex said as he slowly raised the car window and started the engine. "Alex, I'm not going to sing anymore. Why don't you visit me sometime?" Zara said in a craving tone, walking after the G as Alex slowly started rolling away. Alex ignored her as he drove out of the parking lot, increasing the throttle and speeding up. "Alex! Alex!" Zara followed the G into the middle of the street, shouting like a shrew. The only response she got from him was the exhaust and dust from the surrounding cars. When passers-by saw Zara's angry expression, they all secretly guessed that Zara had been dumped by her boyfriend. Episode 28. Alex chased after Rosé. Alex drove the car back to school with Rachel. Rachel was going to the New York School of Hygiene near the Preston University campus. The sky had already grown dark, and the street lamps on both sides of the road had lit up. There was a unique mood in the car. "I didn't expect this car to be yours," Rachel said with a faint smile. The flashing lights made her face glow. "What, you don't like it?" Alex asked. Hearing Alex's words, Rachel turned her face toward the window and blushed. "No, I just like you more," she said sweetly. Rachel recalled the first time she saw Alex. People would bully you and scold you, but you didn't seem to take it to heart. "I can see the determination in your eyes." And now, Alex didn't expect Rachel to speak so openly about her thoughts. "Since you can drive this car, it means that you are so much more powerful than Harry and the others. But you disguised yourself so well that even I couldn't see it. Those guys can't compare to you." Rachel spoke as she lowered her head slightly, intertwined her hands, and looked slightly disappointed. Alex heard the feeling of inferiority from Rachel's words. It was no wonder she felt that way as Alex's big G was worth over $150,000. On the surface, it seemed like Alex's family was of much higher status than Rachel's. However, Alex's family background was much more powerful. This was what Alex had always been worried about. The trouble his identity would cause him after it was revealed. Rachel was a good girl. Alex cherished her as a friend. "Rachel, you've all made a mistake. This car isn't mine. I borrowed it from someone else," Alex lied. "You borrowed it from someone else?" Rachel blinked her large eyes in astonishment. "I swear, this car belongs to someone else. I swear, otherwise, I'll die a horrible death." Alex continued to lie, but he also felt quite at ease because it wasn't truly a lie. Technically, this car belonged to Lucy Smith. So that's what happened. You almost tricked all of us. Rachel laughed and felt secretly delighted in her heart. By then, Alex had already arrived at the New York School of Hygiene. Rachel said goodbye to Alex and walked off. Alex drove the damaged car directly to the repair shop and then drove back with a loaner car. He stopped to have a meal in the cafeteria. It was almost 10 o'clock at night, so Alex didn't get a chance to tell Debbie about the villa. He went back to his dorm to sleep. The next morning, Alex was asleep when he was pulled out of bed by his roommate, Joe. He washed his face and didn't say anything as Joe dragged him to a coffee shop off campus. Susan was there waiting for them. After having a drink, Susan explained the reason she wanted to talk with Alex. It turned out that the relationship between Rose and Zane had developed rapidly in the last 2 days. Susan felt that Zane wasn't interested in Rose, so she wanted Alex to chase after Rose, or, at least, prevent Rose and Zane from getting together. I think you should find someone else, Alex muttered as he thought about how badly Rose treated him earlier. Alex. Rose was just talking nonsense. She usually has a good personality. Last semester, the school invited her to teach in a small mountain town, so Rose volunteered to live in a town in Montana for half a month before coming back, said Susan. This surprised Alex a little. He could not picture Rose living in a remote town. You even brought food to see Rose last time, which proves that you're quite concerned about Rose. I don't think you want to see Rose together with Zane, right? Susan said as she tried to convince him. Alex smiled wryly in his heart. The food that he had brought was not meant for Rose at all. Although Alex did not have a good impression of Rose, he remembered how Zane pretended to be thankful but doubted his character. He agreed since he did not want Rose to date Zane. That's great. I've already told Rose that we're going to the amusement park today. Alex, you have to make good use of this opportunity. Maybe you can take Rose down. Susan giggled. Will she join us? Alex asked as he didn't think much would come of it. With Rose's personality, he doubted that she would go if she knew that he would be there. No, she'll come. Don't worry. You guys sit down. I'll go outside and see if Rose is here, Susan said before walking out of the shop. At that moment, Rose arrived with her bag. Rose, go in quickly. We came with Alex a long time ago, Susan said as she pulled Rose into the shop. Rose stood still and looked at Susan reluctantly. I don't want to see Alex. Susan, I know what you mean this time, but it's obvious that Alex and I are from two different worlds. Rose already knew from Susan that when Alex had brought all the delicious food, it was from his boss at the restaurant he worked for in the city. So, in her eyes, Alex was still a total loser. Rose, look, you're already here. It's fine if we go hang out together. Maybe if we hang out more with Alex, you can find some good qualities in him, Susan said as she tried to convince her. She just didn't want Rose to be with Zane. It's not going to work between us, Rose smiled wryly, but I'll give you this one today. Just don't call me up for more dates with Alex after today. Susan's heart chilled a little when she heard Rose's attitude. The two of them walked into the shop. Alex, Rose is here, why are you still standing there? Susan gave Alex a cue. Rose, you're here. Since Alex had promised Susan, he tried his best to be nice to Rose. I have a last name, so next time you can address me as Miss Scott. Rose didn't even want to look at Alex as she proudly said this. That sentence made Alex, Susan, and Joe feel quite awkward. Rose's attitude was still the same. How is this going to work for Alex and Rose? All right, let's get going since everyone is here, Susan suggested, while Alex and Joe also got ready to leave. There is someone who hasn't arrived yet, Rose said as her lips curled up into a smile. There's someone else, Rose. Didn't I tell you that only 4 of us are going to hang out? Who else did you invite? Susan said, feeling a little disappointed. She had specifically told Rose about this, which Rose had agreed to. Rose didn't answer, but a man had already appeared. A slightly chubby boy walked over. He was wearing a shirt and a New York baseball cap. Zane, you came. Rose walked toward Zane with a smile and put her arm around his. Rose, Zane is coming. Why didn't you tell me this before? Susan's face darkened as she saw how cozy Rose and Zane were with each other. Oh my, Susan. Zane just happened to be passing by. That's why I called him over, Rose said without noticing that she went overboard. She cleared her throat, looked at Susan and the others, and said, actually, I have one more thing to announce. Zane had confessed his feelings to me, so, from today onwards, we're together. Susan froze when she heard that. Joe was also very surprised and looked over at Alex. Alex guessed that Rose's agreement to Zane's confession must have been because she thought that Zane had helped her family. But Zane had faked his help to her. If Rose continues to believe such a dishonest person like him, she might end up suffering a huge loss. Alex thought. Seeing Alex's sad and disappointed expression, Rose felt very comfortable. HMPH. You dared to charge into Metro Sky Bank like a poor loser with a muddled brain. Save it. Let's see if you still dare to think of good things in the future, Rose thought to herself. Now that Rose is with Zane, Alex thought, there's no way I can do what I promised Susan. I need to find an excuse to get out of here. I have some things I should take care of today, he said. Rose became even more proud of herself. Alex looked so ashamed by his inferiority and probably felt embarrassed to stay here any longer. Alex, you're here anyway, and besides, we've already booked your ticket. So, let's have some fun together, Susan said as she tried to persuade him. Joe also came over to persuade Alex to stay. Susan and Joe would feel bad if they let Alex leave just like that. Alex, look at you. Susan is inviting you with such sincerity, stop putting on airs. We're all friends, let's hang out together, Rose said as she enthusiastically invited Alex. That's right, look. Rose said that. Alex, you should stay, Susan chimed in, feeling very happy when she heard Rose urge Alex to stay. Perhaps after a day of hanging out with Rose, Alex would steal Rose away from Zane. Rose said a few more words to persuade Alex to stay. All right then. I'll go with you guys. Alex felt a little embarrassed to be invited like this. That's great. Rose clapped her hands and jumped up. This way, when we're doing stuff, there will be someone who will watch over our bags for us. Chapter 29. CH29 Tell her the truth. Alex, thank you. You're a good person, Rose said as she smiled sinisterly and happily walked in front of Alex, hanging her bag in his hand. Susan and Joe both frowned. They thought that Rose wanted Alex to stay and spend time with her. They never thought that Rose only wanted him to hold her bag. Wasn't she making fun of him on purpose? Alex wasn't as angry as Susan and the others. If he had to blame someone, then he had to blame himself for being too soft-hearted. He had thought for a moment that Rose might have changed her mood. Since he already said he would stay, he decided he would join along. Rose, you're too smart. Hanging out in the amusement park will be tiring. We need a bag carrier, Zane said with a smile as he complimented her. Following Rose's example, he took off his backpack and walked toward Alex. Bro, thank you, you're great, Zane said as he went to give his bag to Alex. Screw off. Alex didn't even make a move, he just glared at Zane and cursed. Helping a girl with her bag was acceptable, but Zane was a man trying to shamelessly give Alex his backpack. How shameless is he? Do you think that I have no brains? Alex thought. After being yelled at by Alex, Zane became listless and walked away while muttering to himself. Ignore him. He's just an immoral person, Rose muttered as she glared at Alex, then held Zane's arm and walked out of the coffee shop first. Alex, Susan, and the others followed behind. As they walked out of the shop, a few boys walked past them who were laughing and talking. Rose's pupils constricted as her gaze locked onto one of them. She shrieked, "Bastard, can't you see me?" Her shout was extremely loud, scaring everyone within 10 meters of them. The other boys also stopped and turned to look at Rose. Rose's gaze was full of anger as she locked onto the face of the tallest boy among them. Rose, what happened with him? Zane asked Rose quietly. He's Lucille Brennan. That incident at our house last time was caused by this guy. Cold words flew out from Rose's mouth. The boys that followed Lucille saw Rose shouting at him. Lucille had an excellent family, so they usually fawned all over him. The boys were prepared to go over and teach Rose a lesson. However, Lucille extended his hand to stop them. Who would have thought at that moment, Lucille's heart would fill with panic and fear. Last time, when Lucille let his father, Logan Brennan, pressure Rose's family, he thought that her family was just second-rate. Once his father made a move, their family would not be able to hold on and would eventually send Rose obediently to his bed. Unexpectedly, Rose's family managed to invite the head of the New York Merchant Union, William Chase. Although Lucille's family's Heavenly Lion Group was one of New York's top 10 enterprises, it was still under the protection of the Merchant Union. Therefore, Lucille's father humbly went to Rose's father's office and apologized in front of him. This was the most shameful and heartbreaking matter that they had ever experienced in their lives. Plus, the father and son duo were already extremely fearful of Rose's family. They would have to hide when they saw Rose in the future. Lucille walked in front of Rose with mixed feelings. The big, tall young man lowered his head toward Rose and said, "Sorry, I was blind to not recognizing you. Sorry if I've offended you. Please forgive my ignorance." Lucille's companions were greatly taken aback. What the hell? Does the usually unruly Lucille dare to speak soft words to someone? They thought. What made them even more dumbfounded was what happened afterwards. Rose proudly stood in front of Lucille with her arms folded and a faint sneer on her face. "You think your apology is going to solve things? Aren't you thinking too optimistically? It's fine. I don't want to argue with you, but it's up to you and your attitude. Kneel in front of me now." Lucille's eyes twitched and his mouth quivered, but he didn't dare to disobey Rose. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lucille dropped to his knees with a thump. Everyone stared at them in total confusion. Just what was going on? Lucille was the dignified young heir of the Heavenly Lion Corporation. Why was he so afraid of this girl? Rose's heart began to swell. "Rose, it's enough to punish him. Let's leave quickly," Zane said in a worried voice. He didn't help Rose with her problem, so if his lie was exposed, it would all be over for him. "What are you leaving for, my dear? This fellow has left our family in such a miserable state. How can we just let him go like this?" Rose hugged Zane's arm and said, "Now, you go beat him up." "Ah, you don't want to do this," Zane said, feeling guilty. "Oh, what are you afraid of? We have a relationship with President Chase. Even if we lent him the courage, he wouldn't dare say a word," Rose urged. After being placed in such a spot, Zane had no choice but to fight. Zane hardened his heart and walked in front of Lucille. He raised his arm and slapped him a few times. So cool. Rose was so happy that she clapped. Then, she walked in front of Lucille and gave him a few slaps too. "All right, my dear, I'm so happy today. Don't let this trash disturb our fun any longer. Let's go," Rose chirped as she walked away with Zane in her arms, followed by Joe and Susan. Alex, who was walking behind them, secretly shook his head. Rose had overdone it. Zane was too much a show-off. He wouldn't help them again in the future. If they stirred up trouble, they would be punished one day. Lucille, who was kneeling on the ground, looked at the backs of Rose and the others that were about to leave. "You two, just you wait," he called. Alex and the others called for a car and headed straight for New York City's entertainment garden. On the way, Rose proudly told him how great it felt when she first hit Lucille, praising Zane for helping her. "I've been looking for a boyfriend that can protect me and handle anything. Those poor losers better or more honest." "Ah, this is hilarious," Rose said. Listening to Rose's words, Zane felt rather weak in his heart, but Alex just laughed it off. "I wonder what Rose would think if she knew that I had helped her and not Zane," Alex thought. After more than an hour of driving, they finally arrived at the amusement park. The roller coaster, the pirate ship, the galloping river, the merry-go-round, the jumping machine. After trying out all sorts of rides, it was already 5 in the afternoon. They took a taxi back to the city and had a meal. It was already dark, so Rose convinced everyone to go to the movies. After buying the tickets, Zane went to the bathroom as Rose got a call from her father. "Rose, come home now. I'm going to visit Zane's father. After all, it's because of you that I have to see him." "Dad, I can't go. I'll tell you a secret. Zane and I are in a relationship already. Besides, I'm with Zane right now, so even if I don't go, his dad won't say anything, Rose said. So, it's like that, good girl. Zane is a potentially good one. Rose's father was very supportive of his daughter's relationship with Zane. All right, then I won't disturb your date with Zane anymore, it's done. They hung up the call. Rose, who called you? Zane asked when he came back. My dad. The movie is about to start. Let's go in quickly. Before Zane could ask more, Rose had already dragged him in to watch the movie. When they came out after the movie, it was already past 10 o'clock. Zane suggested that they not go back to the university, but stay at a hotel instead. After the incident with Lucille, he wanted some private time with Rose as soon as possible. He would regret it if Rose knew the truth. It won't take long for us to take a taxi back home, Susan said hurriedly. She had a bad feeling about Zane's insistence on staying at a hotel. If you want to go back, that's fine, but I won't go back with Rose, Zane said as he put his arm around Rose's shoulders and leaned toward her. Rose, are you coming back with us? Susan asked Rose. Rose's heart was very conflicted, but she felt too embarrassed to go against Zane's words. I think it's better if I go with Zane. You, Susan sighed. She knew that she would still worry about Rose. There was nothing she could do, so she also decided to stay at the hotel. Zane searched for a luxury hotel on his phone and took a taxi there. The hotel was called the Berkeley, and it was quite luxurious. It had a 1-meter wide crystal chandelier, a golden interior, and a tall and slender hostess. The hotel displayed its extraordinary quality from top to bottom. Give us 3 private rooms. Make one of them a single. And the cheapest room, Zane commanded the young lady at the front desk as he walked up to her. Alex, I'm very happy today, so I'll let you stay in a high-class hotel. Tonight, you get to have an experience that I'm sure you won't have again in the future, Zane said to Alex arrogantly while waiting for the receptionist to get a room. When the room card was ready, Zane pulled Rose by the hand and followed the bellhop to the room. Rose had never stayed in the same room with a boy before, so she was very nervous and blushed. But she still followed him. After all, Zane's family had so much power, so she wanted to develop their relationship. Joe and Susan went to their room. Alex was the only one left in the lobby. The surrounding hotel staff started to whisper to each other. Some of them felt that Alex looked very pitiful, as he was the only one among their friends who didn't have a girlfriend. He was also staying in the worst room. Alex, on the other hand, didn't care about these questions. He was just thinking about whether he should tell Rose the truth. If Rose and Zane spent the night together, would he blame himself? He thought. A tall man wearing a white shirt, a smoking jacket, and black trousers entered the lobby. All the staff in the lobby stood up, looking more perked up than before, and focused their eyes on the man. Hello, manager. The staff bowed as the man passed. The man nodded in satisfaction. When his gaze focused on Alex, his expression changed drastically. His originally relaxed expression changed to one of respect and surprise, just like the expression of the staff toward him. Sir, why are you here? The man said to Alex with a smarmy smile. Episode 30 Manager Woodsworth and Alex's excuse. Mr. Woodsworth, Alex said as he recognized him. He had seen this man before at Ken Stokes's banquet. He didn't expect this hotel to be operated by his own family. I don't dare to accept that salutation. You can just call me Old Sam, Sam Woodsworth said, feeling flattered. Alex was a very easygoing person, but, in the end, still addressed Sam formally as Mr. Woodsworth. Mr. Ambrose, why are you here? Sam asked while bowing. Oh, I'm going to hang out with my classmates. I don't want to go back to the university tonight, so I'll stay here with you, Alex said smiling. So that's the case, Sam nodded. He then turned to the receptionist and asked, is this young man's room ready? It's ready, the front desk girl said with a slightly trembling voice. She didn't expect that the young man in front of her, who was wearing an unbearable set of clothes, could make Manager Woodsworth so polite. All the staff, including her, were indifferent to Alex. This young man has the big bed on the 3rd floor next to the stairwell, she said. What? That room is the worst room in the entire hotel. Sam said angrily. This hotel belongs to Mr. Ambrose. It's an honor for Mr. Ambrose to come here, but you've given him the worst room. Mr. Woodsworth, don't blame them. My friend got a room for me, Alex said as he looked at Sam's angry expression and was quite worried that the staff would be implicated. After all, it wasn't their fault. Oh, sir, your friend is too ungrateful, Sam said indignantly. How about this? I'll give you the most respected room in the hotel. No need, I'll just stay in that room tonight. Don't worry. I understand your feelings, Alex said as he patted Sam's shoulder. Only if it's no trouble for you, sir, Sam said. Since Alex had already said so, Sam did not dare disobey him. All right, you can go busy yourselves. I'll head up now, Alex said and walked toward his room. The waiters' eyes were filled with respect toward Alex. They all brought out their brightest smiling faces for him, which made Alex feel uncomfortable for a while. They then smiled lightly and continued with their work. The moment Alex laid down in his room, someone pushed in a dining cart filled with expensive red wine and snacks. Then the cleaning staff appeared, wanting to clean his room inside and out. Then a gorgeous model dropped by who wanted to chat with Alex, but Alex refused. That's Sam, Alex thought while smiling bitterly and sighed after everything quieted down. Damn it, Alex looked at his watch. It had been more than an hour since he got to the hotel. Alex was hesitating whether he should tell Rose the truth, but it was too late now. If Zane was planning to sleep with Rose tonight, the two of them would already be smooching. Sigh, forget it, Rose might not believe it even if I told her about it. She might even mock me for being shameless and trying to take advantage of her, he thought. Thinking about Rose's attitude toward him, Alex lost his feeling of regret. He lay on the bed and closed his eyes. He was about to fall asleep when there was a noise outside in the hallway. First, it sounded like a door being slammed, and then there was the sound of hurried footsteps. Get lost. In the hallway, Rose's entire body was wrapped in a white sheet. Her snow-white shoulders and her two slender legs were exposed, and she wasn't wearing any shoes. She glared furiously at Zane, who chased after her. Rose, quickly come back inside. Look at how you're dressed. Don't let other men see you. Zane was dressed about the same amount as Rose. He only had on a pair of red underwear, and the fat around his round waistline slightly trembled. Zane, you're a big liar. Your family didn't help us. Rose looked at Zane with a cold smile. What, Rose, you have it wrong. If it wasn't my family's help, who else could it be? Tell me, am I right? Zane smiled awkwardly. He was already feeling guilty. Why are you still pretending? Rose shook the phone in her hand. It was my father who called me just now. My father went to visit your father tonight and asked him about this matter. Your father said so himself that he wasn't the one who had helped. You've been lying to me all this time. As soon as those two had entered their hotel room, Zane had started to play tricks on Rose. He had used lots of flowery words to coax her into bed. Rose finally caved in. After all, it was just a matter of time. After taking a shower, she lay on the bed. Zane had already stripped naked and climbed in. But, just at that moment, Rose's father called, so Rose got up and picked up the phone and got some news she wasn't expecting. Looking at Zane, who was lustfully staring at her, Rose felt extremely disgusted, so she ran out of the room in a fluster. Your father went to see my dad. Zane was dumbfounded, but he felt particularly uncomfortable. He and Rose were only one step away from magic, but then his father was in trouble. Wasn't this just teasing him? Rose, listen to me. Even though Zane only wanted to calm her down and get her back into the bed, he walked up to Rose and grabbed her arm. Don't touch me, you're disgusting. When Rose looked at Zane, she only saw his ugliness. When she looked at him, she felt nauseous and repulsed at the thought of having physical contact with him. Rose threw Zane's hand away so strongly that she accidentally hit the eagle statue beside her. With a crash, the eagle statue shattered to pieces on the ground. Rose didn't seem to care about the damage. She was still quarreling with Zane, who was standing in front of her. Who broke this statue? A middle-aged man with a tall stature walked over and looked at the broken pieces on the floor with an angry and sorrowful expression. "Manager Woodsworth," said the hotel staff that had already gathered, lowering their heads in respect. "I did this." Rose was currently fuming, so she admitted right away that she broke the statue. "All right, thank you for being an honest young lady. Since you've admitted it, please compensate our hotel," Sam said with a sad expression. "I'll decide if I compensate you. Look at it. Isn't it just a statue?" "Seriously," Rose retorted during her anger. "You are right, miss, it's a statue," Sam sneered, "but please pay now." This statue was created in 1986 by a prominent Russian sculptor. It was sold at the Christie's auction house the year before last for over $1 million. "What?" Rose thought she misheard and looked at Sam in disbelief. Sam didn't bother to explain anything further to Rose. He asked someone to find the auction documents to show her. When she saw the documents, she was at a loss for words. "Over $1 million. That's as much as a year of my family's income," she thought. "I was careless." Rose's heart was flustered, her entire body went weak, and her hands, which were holding the documents, were shaking uncontrollably. "Didn't you say it was just a statue?" Sam sneered. "Don't think that I'll let you get away with it. You must compensate me. Hurry up and call home if you need." Rose's heart skipped a beat again. The documents slipped out of her hands and her legs shook even more. If her father knew about this, he would beat her to death. Rose felt especially scared when she thought of her father's ferocious face. "Rose, what's wrong?" Susan and Joe heard the commotion and ran to Rose's side. Rose told them what had happened, and, by then, her tears had already started to fall. She sobbed. "What should I do? If my father knows, he will beat me to death." "Sir, please don't make me pay, okay? I can work for you, and I'll pay you back. Do you need a nanny at home? I can work for you. Although I don't know how, I can learn," Rose cried as she looked at Sam with tears in her eyes. To hide this blunder from her parents, Rose was willing to do anything. "Little girl, don't think of any other impractical methods. You should call your parents as soon as possible," Sam said, thinking like a businessperson. Even though he felt that Rose was a bit pitiful, he still had to collect the money back. Rose felt complete despair, and her self-reproach, remorse, worry, and fear mixed in her heart. "Mr. Woodsworth," Alex quietly said as he leisurely walked over. He had heard most of what happened. "Sir," Sam was about to call out to Alex, but he was stopped by Alex's gaze. "Mr. Woodsworth, I think this statue fell at a good time," Alex looked at Sam and said with a faint smile. The moment Alex said this, the surrounding people were all surprised. Someone smashed a statue worth over $1 million. And you think that was good? Wasn't that person asking for a beating? They thought to themselves. "You think so? May I have your opinion?" Sam said respectfully. His heart was filled with suspicion. What exactly did Mr. Ambrose mean? "Let me ask you, does this hotel host many Americans or Europeans?" Alex asked. "Of course, they are our main guests," Sam said after thinking for a while. "So, the patrons are American and European, yet the hotel spent a lot of money to buy a Russian sculpture and have it on display by the guest rooms. Do you know, right now, that our country and its allies are at odds with Russia? If the people knew that you had this expensive sculpture in your hotel, they might boycott the hotel. If this was on the news, your hotel's losses would be more than $1 million. That's why I said this situation happened at a good time," Alex reasoned with him. When the others heard Alex's brilliant idea, they could not help but laugh. This kind of story wouldn't even fool a 3-year-old kid, but he wanted to try and trick manager Woodsworth. When Rose saw Alex standing up for her, she was a little touched. She smiled wryly inside. She was grateful for his help, but it sounded so silly. He was just a fool who didn't understand what was going on. "Oh, this young man is right. I wasn't thinking." Sam spoke with a respectful smile towards him, contrary to what everyone else expected. They thought that Alex would be made into a joke.